Welcome back, everybody. So today we're going to talk about a little bit of post-production, retouching, specifically removing distracting backgrounds. I have done a video on an AI retouching software called Evoto before, and we will link that in the description and up above so you guys can check that out. And I also have an affiliate link that you can get 30 free credits. The way that it works is you can process all the images you want to in the program for free, and then when you export them, that's when it charges you. So, but the cost is pretty low, so I think it's well worth it. It's completely changed the way that I retouch. It's allowed a lot of my employees to help with it, whereas before it would have taken a long training process to teach somebody how to retouch the correct way in Photoshop. And there's something to be said for that. It's still good to know how to do that the long way if you need to for some reason, because sometimes using AI isn't the best solution. Most of the time it works pretty well, especially for simple stuff, but sometimes it misses things. So it's good to be able to know how to go correct that in Photoshop if you need to. But overall, it's a huge time saver and a huge money saver, because a retoucher is going to cost, $3 or $5 a picture. Maybe even more depending on how high end they are. This is like cents on the dollar comparably. So, and it saves you, and the time it takes too also is well worth spending a few dollars on a picture, even though you don't end up spending that much with this program. So I would highly recommend checking out that video. We're not going to go in depth on the regular retouching. I'm going to do some of that with these photos that I'm going to show you, but really I want to address some of the new features that they have, specifically the background removal, like I said, with the new update. So let's jump over here to the computer and let's see what version this is real quick. This is version 3.8.0. So depending on whenever you watch this video, there might be new versions out, but that's the newest one as of now. So, okay, I have several pictures here. We've got one of a football player in the studio in his suit. We've got a few different dance pictures, that we actually have 4 that all have similar but different problems. A couple of them are the same. This one's a little bit overexposed. And then I've got another football player with a foggy background. We got some atmosphere aerosol and some gels going on back behind him. So all of these, the one thing they do have in common is you can tell that the background is supposed to be solid, and except for this one, really, it's solid but not solid because it's got fog in it, obviously. But they're all supposed to be solid for the most part, and they all have distracting elements in them. So normally you would have to go into Photoshop, depending on where the distraction is, you might have to cut the person out. Select subjects in Photoshop has gotten really good, but that's still a lot of extra work to have to do if the background distraction is behind the person, where you have to cut them out and then go in, make several layers, that kind of thing. Again, it's good to know how to do, but this is much faster. So if you can get away with it. So, all right, let's dive in here and walk through these one by one. Okay, so the Evoto you can retouch, so Evoto can process photos, color correct them, tone them, pretty much do everything that Capture One or Lightroom or Camera Raw does. I don't typically do that, although I have, in the first video that I did, I actually went through the raw processing, like the stages that I would normally do in the other programs, and it works really well. I will say that. I do like the cataloging system of Lightroom and Capture One, and as of right now, that part of this program isn't as good. It does have folders in it, so you can organize things a little bit, but I like to organize my photos by date, obviously, and then different folders inside the date. So that's a little bit more in depth, but if you want to do that, if you want to do your raw processing in Evoto, then it's definitely capable for sure. It has pretty much all of the same tools that Lightroom and Capture One have, or Camera Raw, which is pretty much the same thing as Lightroom. Okay, so let's go in here first. And actually, let's make my window the right size first of all. There we go. Okay. All right. So we've got our modules over here on the right. This is the raw processing panel. This is the retouching panel, and then we got the background panel. Okay. So right here, they've got some presets. We can just try them real quick and see what they look like. That's not bad. If you press spacebar, it goes before and after. So I think that looks actually pretty good, to be honest with you. And we can do some work on the skin. It's a little bit too hot on his face, so I'd probably turn the exposure down just a little bit, maybe, and then maybe open up the shadows just a little bit more. So there's before and there's after. I think it looks pretty good, honestly. So I mean, I like to do custom color correcting and toning, color grading, but a lot of times it's quicker. You can say those as presets, but you know, in a situation like this, a lot of times I'll just click on presets that are existing in the program and see what they look like. And if they work, you know, there's really not any reason to do extra work if you don't have to. So this one is called Vivid Light. You can adjust the strength of it right here. So it's on 100 now. We can go down or up depending. That's too much. I think 100 is probably, and maybe even a little bit less. Okay. All right, so that looks pretty good. Let's go to the retouching panel real quick. And he doesn't have bad skin or anything like that, but we can even it out a little bit. So he's got a little bit of redness going on here. So let's go to freckle and acne and just slide that to the right. Okay, so that did a great job. And then I always pull back freckles so that those show up. And you can see on his, right here, they disappear on his cheek and then they show back up. So I like to keep those, obviously. If we can, don't mess with shine a whole lot, especially with him. He's not going to need it. Let's go here. Lip wrinkles and flakes. That one, we do need that a little bit, so that helped quite a bit. So we can go down to even with dodge and burn, which this little section right here is one of the new features also. So sculpt and then even out. So this is basically just going to even out everything in the skin, and then this is going to give it more shape. So I might go about halfway with this and then slide this to the right. Now, see what it did? It made that shadow on his jawline a little bit more noticeable. And then you can slide the facial features and facial contours down here too. So if we go back, then the shadow goes away. If we back off, and then if we go forward, then it adds more of a darkening in the shadows and a lightening in the highlights. And that's what dodging is from Photoshop if you know how to do it manually. All right, we're not going to soften the skin any. Let's go down to AI face complexion. So I always start by sliding everything to the right all the way and see what it looks like, and then maybe backing off. So you can see that's evening out the redness. So I like that. Probably don't want to go all the way. There's no body complexion to worry about. I think everything else is probably going to be pretty good. Maybe go down to flyaway hairs. So this works a lot of times. Sometimes it discolors the background. Let's see what this one's going to do. I bet it's going to do good because it's on white. So let's just slide and remove straight hairs to the right, and you can see it got rid of them up on the top there. Let's zoom in a little bit so you can see better. Go back, so there's before, and there's after. That definitely cleaned it up pretty good. There's no weird smudginess going on anywhere, so that looks great. All right, I think we're good. All right, so now we need to take care of the background on the sides, basically. I had an X-Drop Pro and wanted to shoot horizontal, so obviously, you know, it's a vertical background, so we went off the edges a little bit because I wanted to get his knees in it. So let's go to fit, and then let's go to the background. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is hit distraction removal, and then we're gonna click on this, and we're gonna go to distractions. And then just like that, it is gone. Now the only thing is, and it may be hard to see on the screen when YouTube compresses this, there are some wrinkles in this white background right here. I did light it, but I didn't blow it out so that I could tweak that later in post, which a lot of times when I have solid white backgrounds, I won't make it totally white just so I can tweak it a little bit or change the color if I want to, and there's no reflection on the person if they're anywhere near close to it. So there's some wrinkles going on here. So all we have to do to fix that is go down here. Let's see if we can fix it before going to the white background. So let's go clean backdrop, and if you click over the little question mark, it'll tell you what it does. So it's going to remove blemishes. So let's see what that does. And go down to solid backdrop, and I still see that shadow a little bit there. Okay, so that didn't quite take care of it. That's obviously not going to work because it's the wrong selection. Okay, so now we can go, I'm going to click color banding even though we probably don't need that. And then we don't need background enhancement because there's no color. So I can just go down to white now, click that. And then now, because I wanted it to be white in the first place, that makes total sense here. So that fixes it exactly how we need it really. So if you press spacebar, there's before, there's after, his skin's cleaned up, got some dodging and burning done. The only thing I see is his neck wrinkles. I said I wasn't going to go through the retouching process, and I'm doing it, but that's okay. It's not complicated. You can see how easy this is. You can save these as presets too whenever you get something you like, and you can also sync the photos, which we're going to do here in a second with these dance pictures. So let's go to neck wrinkle, because he's got a little bit of a neck wrinkle there, which is not a big deal. I mean, I probably would be fine leaving those, but I think that taking them away just a little bit probably helps. So that looks great. I think this one's good. So if he had more pictures, I had more pictures obviously from the studio, so we could sync all of those and then they would be the same and we would be good. And it does a really good job of doing that. So let's move to the dance picture real quick. So I'm gonna go to my presets on this one and try these two. So I did cheat and go through these pictures before we filmed the video, and then I just reset them. So I think I picked, which one was it? Warm and cozy, because these are dancers, they're girls obviously, so that doesn't look good right off the bat. It made everything too dark because AI is trying to guess what the exposure is supposed to be. And so you can see because the background's so white, because I've got 4 lights in the background to make it white and make it nice and solid, it's thinking that it's overexposed, which is understandable. And that's an example where AI doesn't know what you're trying to do. So, but if you go down to exposure, because this is raw, you put it back, set it back to 0, then now we're good to go, all right? And then the only thing is, I think it's a little bit too contrasty, so I'm gonna, it's got the blacks pulled to the left. I'm gonna back off of those. Everything else I think looks pretty good, honestly, now. So it's got a little bit more of a warm tint to it now, which I'm good with because these are dancers. The background still looks solid white. So let's go to shot for the white balance and see what it looks like. And you can see that it warmed it up from 5977 to 6244. So, and then the tint, it backed off. It was a little bit too magenta. So I think this works better than what the actual white balance was whenever I shot it. So I think we're good with that. So let's go to the retouching real quick. Let's do the freckles and acne, same thing we did before. Pull that to the right, then back off the freckles. Maybe go, I don't think that they have any body blemishes on their legs, but we'll move that up a little bit. And then there's not gonna be a whole lot else needed here. We'll even it out with the dodging and burning, and then we'll sculpt it. And then I'm gonna go to this is a group. So I didn't mention this, I should have at the beginning. So if you go up to the top and click this little face icon, so you could just wanna make sure that it picks everybody as the right gender. Like if it picked, sometimes it might think somebody's a boy instead of a girl or something like that. And it does it at weird times. So you always wanna double check, because sometimes it won't sync them all the same. If it thinks they're all female but one, the one is not going to get the same treatment as the others when you do a preset or when you slide a slider, because it thinks that you need to do that individually. So we're good. It says they're all female. And body skin soften, which want to make sure that their legs are nice and smooth. So that helped a little bit with that. And let's see, unified body complexion AI. That's probably we don't. Actually, I'm going to use the AI, not the regular one. Okay, they're pretty even. Sometimes legs can get discolored a little bit and darker. Sometimes not. Just depends. I think it's not really showing that much on this one, but we'll go ahead and slide it. And then, so I think we're good. That looks great. All right, so let's go to the background again. So same thing, distraction removal, and then hit distractions, and it's gone. Now the only thing it did, you can see it took away their reflections on the edges, which we don't want. So now what we're gonna do is go ahead and click clean backdrop. All right, so now we can go to this pencil icon, and then it's gonna allow us to erase where it's gonna show you the mask in pink, and then you can click the minus on the manual tuning here, and then you can change the size, softness, and opacity. And we're going to left bracket key to make the brush smaller, right bracket key will make it bigger, but we're gonna erase right there on the legs, on the reflection, on all of them, just to make sure that those don't disappear on us. Okay, and then hit OK, and then now they're back. Now the only other thing, I'm gonna press Command plus to zoom in, hold space bar to grab my hand tool and move in. The only thing is I have a seam here where the white board is taped together, so now we're gonna go up to our clone, or our healing brush here, and then I'm going to just run over that seam first. Good. And then actually now let's grab that whole piece of tape, see if it takes care of it. Sometimes the healing brush works good. Sometimes you got to go over it a few times. Kind of depends. There's a stamp tool also. If it's not working, then you can use that. But right now, I think it's doing pretty good. Let's just make sure we don't have anything else weird going on. We don't. Floor looks good now. So, all right, let's go to fit. Okay, looks good, press OK. And so there's before and there's after. So that looks great. Now, so we've got another dancer here. Now this one I could have just cropped unless I wanted more room for an 8x10 print above her hand, which I might do. So that would be really easy to fix in Photoshop, but again, you're already doing the other pictures in here, so might as well try to sync them, right? So we're gonna sync that one the same. This one is different because my background light didn't fire. So we're gonna sync all of these and see how well it does. And then there's another group picture. The difference in this one is it's overexposed. So let's go back to the first one that we already did, hold shift, select them all, and then hit sync. And I guess because I did this before, normally a dialog box pops up that asks you what you want to sync and you check the boxes. So I just checked all of them the first time. There's a little spinny wheel on here on the bottom left showing you the progress. Okay, so let's click off of them. Okay, so that did a great job on her. There's before, there's after. I like the processing. Everything looks great. Background's taken care of completely. That one's good. All right, this one's too bright. So let's go back to the raw processing. The exposure's at 1.4, which is too high probably, yep. And so it does need to be raised a little bit maybe. That looks good right there. Also, I think this has too much contrast. So maybe back off that even more than we already have. And then maybe open up shadows a little bit. There we go. Okay, all right, so now let's go to the background on her. All right, so you can see that it's the distractions because it's synced from the other one. The edge here I've got the background, that's a fabric background, a Westcott fabric background, a big one like a 6 or 9x20. There's two of them taped together, or two of them on regular background stands and then taped together in the middle so that you don't see a shadow. So that's the tape right there. So it took care of that. And then there's a little bit it's darker at the bottom just because you can see the wall behind it through it a little bit. So it's evening that out the best it can. Background enhancement again is not going to do anything on this one because it's not colored. So again, let's go down to the white and see what that does. And then you just want to make sure the edges do good when you do this, when you do the solid backgrounds. And you can also import your own backgrounds too. And I can show you. So there's one that's put in the program. Now you can see this does a pretty good job. You can go in and refine it. I'm not going to do that right now, but you can clean that edge up a little bit. That's not the worst thing I've ever seen. That's probably acceptable, honestly, especially if you're going to be zoomed out for a print. If it's digital, I might go in and fix it a little bit, but you can refine the edges, but you can see it does a really good job. And you can do different colors, and then you can import your own also. See, there's a solid gray background. It's similar to what we shot on. There's black. So, but white is what we want because we shot it on white. So, all right, so that one's good to go. Okay, so this one, it took care of the background. It looks like the floor is intact, the reflection. It did looks like there's something right there, but that's actually, you can't even tell really. That it looks like it maybe cloned that or healed it or did something to it, but let's just click off and see if that's what. So I guess distraction removal, it's doing something to the floor right there, but that doesn't, you need to analyze things like that when you notice them and say, does it really matter that it's different? Is anybody gonna notice that? And I would say definitely not on this one for sure. So we're gonna leave it as it is. The only thing is this one is too bright. So let's go back to the raw processing. Now it's gonna bring the background back when you do that while you're processing it. And then once you go back to any of the other modules, it's gonna change back. So let's go down our exposure a little bit and then pull the highlights back a little bit more. And I think that's pretty good. Maybe back off the contrast just a hair more. There we go, that's better. We got a little bit of face shine going. Let's go back to the portrait retouching on this one. and then go to the reduce face shine slider, and then maybe slide that to the right just a little bit. Let's look at our faces and make sure that we've got the right ones selected. Oh, we zoomed out too much there. We zoomed in too much there. Let's click on our faces. Yep, there it says a child for all of them, so we're good. Okay, I think that looks much, much better. All right, so then we have the seam to fix on this one too. All right, so let's go back to our healing brush. And let's just do it all at once and see how it does. So you can see it's making this edge kind of hard. And that might actually be because I've got the hardness set to 100. Duh. Okay. Let's try it with a softer brush and see if that matters. Whoa, did something weird. Maybe go slower. That's better. Okay. Looks pretty good. I'm going to run over this part that it kind of changed a little bit, even though we didn't really ask it to. All right, we're just going to leave that how it was. Okay. All right, I think that looks good. So one thing I've never done is there's an armpit touch-up slider. Let's find that real quick. Even though these aren't bad, let's just see. So that takes it off completely when you slide it all the way to the right. I don't know that I want to do that. That one it didn't fix. This one was the main one that did anything to, but I think it's okay. Okay. Obviously, if that was one person, I think it would probably do a little bit better job. All right, so let's. Oh, it didn't sync the sculpt with dodging and burning. So let's fix those. And body skin didn't sync that either. So we want to do that. All right, so I think. Okay, just making sure that we're good on all that. Body blemish, I do see a bruise down here. There we go, that took care of that. Okay, all right, so now we're good. All right, so I had to go back in and manually adjust some of the things, like with when it's a different person, when you have specific things like body skin smoothing or like the armpit adjustment or whatever, it might not sync those because it's a different person, so that makes sense. All right, so that one's good now. Let's click on white backdrop and, okay, so that made it a little bit more white, which it's not completely white, so maybe we want to do that. And then go into the pencil tool and then erase the floor. I actually added to the floor there on accident. Let's erase what it's doing to the floor here so the reflection comes back. There we go. Well, the only thing is, so there's a discoloration going on there. So now maybe we want to make a softer brush and then pull that back right there on the edges. So it's not a hard edge, because that was a little bit distracting looking. You could definitely see the difference in the color. Anywhere where that background is going to show, where it's showing the color change. Okay, that looks much better. Now I think we're good. Okay. There we go. Much better. All right, that one's great. All right, now this one might be a little more challenging. Real quick, let's do a preset. Let's try vivid light. That looks good. Maybe back off just a little bit. And then what's our exposure doing? I think it's making it too bright. It is. Let's go about right there. And then maybe add some clarity. Okay, let's go in real quick and do the freckle and acne. And I don't think he needs anything else, so let's go straight to the background. All right, so let's see what this does right off the bat. Got rid of the football. That's what I was worried about. Okay, so let's go to the pencil tool. And it would be nice if we could have like an object selection. We don't have that. I have a feeling eventually they will. But right now, we just have a brush, which is okay. Since this is a pretty easy shape, I think we can probably, now I would normally use, I have a medium Wacom tablet that I retouch with that I don't use nearly as much now that I've got this program, honestly, because there's not as much need for it. I do use it some, and on this with specific adjustments that are like fine-tuned like this where you have to trace something, it's very good. They're still very handy to have. So I would definitely recommend getting one if you don't already have one. I didn't trace that perfect, but I obviously could if, now it's gonna drive me crazy now, right there. I am a little bit too much of a perfectionist sometimes. Okay, there we go. That's definitely better. Okay, good. All right, so there we go. That was much easier than I thought it was gonna be. Let's see what happens when we do background enhancement. Don't like that. Click color banding just to be safe. Okay, there we go, fixed. All right, so let's go through them real quick one more time. There's before, after, and these are all processed, raw files processed, and then we use the background distraction removal, synced all of them, and then we also retouched them too. And then with the dodging and burning, that's a really big improvement, honestly, because that's one of the things that takes forever in Photoshop to manually sculpt things and give them more shape. And this honestly does a really, really good job for not knowing what you want. That's the thing about AI. It doesn't know exactly what you want. It does learn, obviously, but you know, sometimes it doesn't get things right because it doesn't know what you're thinking. But this is pretty good. So, all right. So highly recommend Evoto. Big time saver, big money saver. Check it out if you haven't. Like I said, there's an affiliate link in the description below. Get 30 free credits. So, and there's no cost to try it anyway. You just only pay when you export. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you want to stay updated and know whenever we release new videos, templates, we've got some courses coming out soon, workshops, any kind of news, make sure you go to my website, Matthernandez.shop. There's a window that pops up. You can subscribe to the newsletter there. So we'll keep that updated to inform all you guys when we've got things going on. I'd appreciate a like and a subscribe if you liked the video. Hopefully it was helpful, and make sure you hit the bell so you get notified when we post new content. There's going to be a lot more to come. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.